everyone. So, uh, I'm going to talk about what happened in Darkness Within, which I have up on the screen, and as you can tell, spoiler warning. If you guys don't know, if anyone doesn't know, I've been keeping up with the Warrior Cat series, for a very long time. Uh, I've been reading it since the beginning. I've never done one of these videos before. It's not something I've ever really talked about. It's not something really I've ever shared. Uh, to say this book kind of pissed me off is an understatement because it's so lazy. And I understand it's supposed to be for like kids, like little children. I'm an adult that's reading it. I mean, I like it because it involves cats. And if you don't know anything about the Warrior Cat series, uh, it's basically a bunch of cats living out in the forest, and they each have a clan that they live in, and they each have a leader that keeps them united, and they basically all work together and uh, hunt for each other, and they have a medicine cat that helps them keep healthy, and then they have like kittens and queens and elderlies that they take care of. And it's basically like this community of cats that live around a lake now. They're living around a lake right now since like their original forest got destroyed. So if you guys have no idea what I'm talking about, uh, take the time, look up the series. It's basically feral cats living out in the wild. And to say it stays true to what real feral cats do is a lie. Feral cats technically don't live this way. I mean, it's make believe. We could say whatever we want, so there's that. So, what I'm going to start with is basically a review breakdown of the book. So, the book starts out with StarClan having a discussion. And, hold on while I switch over to that. Okay. I'm going to use this as a place marker. So, basically, what we're starting with is this prologue. And it's talking about StarClan, and they're sitting there like in watching the pool, so they're aware of what's going on. StarClan is aware of what's going on in the book series, and something that interested me that she points out, and who we're talking about here is Leaf Pool. So she says she keeps hoping that they disappear each time she comes here. So she's talking about vines, and there's like huge vines that have surrounded the pool, and it goes into the pool. It's like a huge tangled mess blocking the way to the clans. So there's these huge vines for some reason that are blocking their view of the clans, and that's why they can't get through. So Leafpool's talking about that, and Firestar, who has died. Spoilers. What if we never make it past him? And she says, we have to. We can't be separate from the living clans. They need us. And Blue Star is like, they're resourceful. They might not need us as much as we think. And she thinks, what if we need them? And she says, basically, will we disappear if we have no connection to the living clans? And that's their worry right now. It's like, will we disappear? Okay? And then Firestar says no. And then he's doubtful about the fact that he's saying no. And then he says, why did we allow a cat like that to go down there? Right here. Why did we allow a cat like that to go down there? So, they sent him on purpose. This is right here telling us not only did they send down the imposter on purpose, they did it for a reason. Right. So we're going to keep an eye on him, remember? Yeah, that didn't work out, did it? And he poked the vine angrily, sending ripples to the pond. And then she hoped that he had managed to dislodge something, but nope. Gray missed that swirled and says, "It was too important to put in the paws of such a cat. We should have sent some other cat. It doesn't matter who we sent," Tall Star began. So, yeah, Star Clan did it on purpose. They sent him down there. And if you guys were not aware, Bramble Star has been taken over by an imposter. Someone has stolen his body, and Bramble Star's spirit is missing, and they don't know how to find it. So we're going to go on to the next page, so hold on. Okay, so I should probably explain more about the book. So, Broken Code, it all started with Shadow Paw having a dream, Bramble Star getting sick. They take Bramble Star to the middle of nowhere on a hill and basically bury him in the snow because he has like a really horrible fever. Like he's very ill. Like he's gonna die ill. Bramble Star dies, and when he comes back to life, he's no longer who he used to be. So they start discovering basically Bramble Star is not who he says he is. Bramble Star is someone other cat using his body. And they're calling him the imposter. So this book, Darkness Within, reveals who the imposter is. Now, I'm getting to that. So, Bramble Star and Shadow Paw, Shadow Sight now as he's called, basically everything comes down to Bramble Star has now been taken over by someone else. He's no longer who he used to be. Shadow Sight thinks it's his fault because it was him who had thought it was a good idea to take him out there and basically bury him in the snow. Because they thought if he could get cold enough, like freezing cold, it would break his fever. Which, people actually do that in real life, by the way. If you have a really horrible fever, they'll try to break your fever by getting you very cold. And so it doesn't work. Bramble Star dies, and when he comes back, he's basically someone else. Okay? So, basically, what they're talking about here is the someone else cat. I'm going to reveal who it is in a little bit. So, this is the next page, page 4. Really, Firestar swung his gaze toward the Wind Clan leader. Don't you think it's strange we trusted the cat we should have never trusted in life, and this happened? We've lost our connection to the clans. Don't you think it's a coincidence? So, yeah, they're realizing now that they should have never sent this cat. So we know it's a Star Clan cat that they sent. So, it's no coincidence that this happened when the clans have been breaking the code whenever it suits them. They're the ones who caused this mist toward the knot of branches, obscuring the pool. The code has been broken before, in worse ways, and nothing like this has ever happened. There's only one cat responsible for this. We must find a way to fix it. If we don't, living clans might be lost forever. And then Leopold says, was he right? Could this be the end of the connection between the Lake clans and their ancestors? And if it was, how long could the living and the dead survive? Okay, so pause. Okay, so we're back to this. Alright, so what we learned from that is basically Star Clan knows what's going on. We know that they sent the cat on purpose. For some reason, they decided to send this cat who has taken over Bramble Star's body to the living clans. Why they sent him, I don't know. We honestly, that information is missing. It's gone, and we don't know why StarClan would send him down to the living clans. Like, maybe they sent him with a message. Maybe they sent him with some purpose that he was supposed to do. And instead of doing what he was supposed to do, he basically destroyed everything. So, after this, the book goes on, and basically Squirrel Flight reveals who the imposter is. And it's basically a lot of back and forth between Shadowsight, Bristlefrost, and Rootspring. And we go back and forth between what's happening with these three cats. And so Shadowsight is doubtful about his place in the world now, because everyone's saying basically the same thing. I'll get that into a little bit. So Squirrelflight reveals who the imposter is, and if you're up to date with me, basically I haven't really explained it very well, and I'm sorry about that. So read the books yourselves, you'll understand it better. It's very complicated to explain it from the beginning. So we get to this point where she's like, I know who it is, I know what he's doing, and I know why he's here. And she says his name, and basically it's Ashfur. And apparently Ashfur has been so obsessed with Squirrel Flight, with him dying, that he came back down, took over Bramble Star's body to get her to love him. And he's doing this because he's obsessed. To the point that we go through the book of them having him hostage, and Shadowsight's there, and he's basically been demoted from being a full medicine cat because of his actions, and basically because of what he was doing. And every cat in Shadow Clan blames Shadowsight for what happened. And it's not just Shadow Clan who blames him for what happened. It's all the clans. And so Shadowsight got demoted. He's no longer a full medicine cat. And everyone's like telling him basically they de-trust him. They don't trust him anymore. And how can anyone trust him after what's happened? Well, and he's like, well, where do I belong then? He's trying to figure out, if he can't belong with anyone, where does he go? Like, what's he supposed to do? Because he's always felt like he's meant to be a medicine cat. So we get Rootspring, and we get Bristlefrost, and we get their whole I'm in love with you dynamic, to the point that it's gotten stupid. Bristlefrost and Rootspring, they want to be together. They can't be together because they're from different clans. And they're denying their relationship with each other because of what's going on with the clans, what's going on with themselves, and basically if they they're afraid to do something about it because of breaking one of the rules of the clans. And they want to be together, and they're trying to figure out how they can be together. Like, will she have to leave ThunderClan to be with him? Will he have to leave SkyClan so he could be with her? There's no way they can figure this out, right? So the book goes on, and basically get this back and forth. They decide to go to the sisters and hunt them down. And basically they go and try to hunt the sisters down. They're on this long journey to find them, and they eventually do find them. And they decide to bring the sisters back with them because the sisters seem to have more of a connection to the spirits than the clan themselves. They figured, well, if the sisters can have more of a connection to the earth, the spirits, and ghost cats, then maybe they can help. So they bring the sisters back, and they get back home, and you can see Bristlefrost and Root Spring getting like closer, more romantic with each other to the point that it actually made me want to barf. And so they get back home with the sisters, and they show, and it's funny too because it's a whole chapter that's actually ripped from Gray Stripe's vow, and it's basically read for read what happens in Gray Stripe's vow when he decides to leave, and another few casts decide to leave, and then to find out if they really do belong in the clans anymore. So, anyways, so they get back home with the sisters, and the sisters perform a ceremony with Root Spring in the middle because since he's a clan cat and he's connected to the sisters too, that he'll have some connection to spirits. So they call the ghost cats, and we have this really kind of like haunting, scary kind of thing happen. Sorry. Hold on. Sorry. Anyways, so we had this horrible kind of thing happen where all the ghost cats come, and they have like, some of them are like dissolving, some of them are like fading in and out. And they learned this because earlier there was a kitty pet who had died. Oh, hold on. Sorry. There was a kitty pet who had died and said basically there were spirits who were fading in and out. So they call the ghost cats to this one spot, and all the other cats can't see him. Root Spring can see him, the sisters can see them, and Tree can see them. And all the ghost cats who can't move on, are stuck on Earth, like stuck on the plane of living, and they're becoming like hollows. Like they're becoming like haunted terror, like almost like what's the word? I don't know how to explain it. Basically, all the dead cats, the ghost cats, they can't move on. They're stuck there on Earth, and Ashfur, who is the imposter, by the way, is holding them hostage and like building a spirit army. So, Ashfur is the imposter. They reveal that to be who it is. And I haven't said who it was because I'm kind of wanted to save it, but no, might as well say it. Ashfur is the imposter, and they find out that he can leave his body, Bramblestar's body, whenever he wants. And spirit travel. And apparently, it takes a lot out of him to do this, because every time he does it, he becomes really exhausted. He becomes like overburdened, and apparently it's taking a lot of strength from Bramblestar's body to keep it alive. And basically, every time he spirit walks, he goes back to his body, and he basically collapses into exhaustion. Like it's taking a lot of effort to keep what he's doing, what he's doing to keep, moving on to what he wants. So the spirit cats show up. They're stuck on a plane of existence, and they're starting to become angry spirits. And all the cats are like howling. Their eyes are like gaped out. They're just screaming in pain, and the ghost cats are in pain, and they see all these cats just like, you know, darkness coming out of their eyes, and hollowed out eyes, and basically going ah, for all eternity, screaming at the top of their lungs and not saying anything. And then they see Ashfur amongst all the spirits, and he looks very smug, and he looks very happy about what's going on. He's just like proud of himself, like haha. And then so they discover that he's been spirit traveling, and they go back to uh, decide to kill him off for good. Squirrel Flight tries to stop them from killing them off for good. They think that because they're outside of it, that the clan has killed Bramblestar's body, and they don't know that he's still alive. And then Squirrel Flight's depressed because she wasn't ready to lose him yet. And so she goes to the moon pool by herself. Root Spring decides to follow her, and as Root Spring shows up, he sees Ashfur somehow had gotten away from everyone, and it was Shadowsight's fault again that he got away from the clans, because apparently no one was watching him. And Root Spring sees Brambleclaw as, Ashfur, go up to Squirrel Flight and says basically, choose me or everyone dies. Like, not just the ghost, the clans. He'll destroy everything because what he wants is Squirrel Flight to be his forever. So Squirrel Flight basically says no. He doesn't take no for an answer. And it's just like this really creepy kind of relationship. Like, he won't take no for an answer. She's telling him, no, I don't want to be with you. And then he basically almost kills her. Like, he's literally saying, if you don't want to be with me, then I'll kill you myself. So he basically almost kills her, or he does kill her, and basically attacks her, and he's holding her by the neck, and he's basically choking the air out of her. And then Root Spring tries to stop him and basically gets knocked out. And then Ashfur drags Squirrel Flight into the pool and disappears into the moon pool. And Root Spring tries to go after her, and there's no one there. And basically he had created some sort of portal. Like, apparently he has this ability, and he took Squirrel Flight with her to the land of the dead. So that's how the book ends. Basically with Squirrel Flight being taken to a land that they can't get to. And that opens up to the next book, which is called, hold on while I look at it. So this opens up to the next book called The Place of No Stars. The Place of No Stars is basically the Dark Forest. So I didn't want to continue this, so hold on while I say a different thing. Alright? Okay. So I want to go over why Ashfur doesn't make any sense to be the imposter. So these are what I think are reasons Ashfur does not make sense to be the imposter. I mean, I guess, whatever. It just doesn't make any sense. It's lazy. So, alright. 1. The book acts like he's been dead for a very long time, when in fact he hasn't been very dead for very long. Question mark. It doesn't give us an idea how long he's been dead for. Okay, so Ashfur, from what they're saying, is apparently he's been dead for a very, very, very long time. I mean, maybe it's been a couple years. I mean, they're in a new forest. It's been a while. Lion Blaze is all older. They're all older now. I mean, I don't know. They act like it's been longer than what it should be. Okay, so in one book, Jay Feather says that he's forgotten how to be a warrior, and doesn't seem to act like one at all, which seems to say that Ashford has been dead for so long, he doesn't remember being a warrior. Okay. I mean, that would kind of make sense that he'd forget, like, his former life. I mean, but, yeah, I don't remember which book Jay Feather says this is. He says it as, like, an offhand comment when he's talking to someone else about it. He basically says that whoever the imposter was, because they didn't know at the time, wasn't acting as a warrior should. So, yeah. So, 3. Ashford was fine in StarClan. In fact, they forgave him for what he's done. And I know that he wasn't that awful, really jealous, obsessed, and he was blinded by his love for her. Okay, so in Squirrel Flight's Hope, Squirrel Flight dies. She goes to StarClan, and Ashford greets her. He's like one of the first cats who sees her. Okay? And he sees her and he's like, oh, wow. You know, he's acting like she's here. Finally, I can be with her. And I think that's what kind of makes sense for it to be Ashford, because he sees her and she doesn't want to stay with him. Like, she doesn't want to stay in StarClan. And I think that makes sense for it to be Ashford at this point. Okay, so I'll explain. Squirrel Flight goes to StarClan. She dies. While in StarClan, her body is unconscious in the real world. So she meets Ashford. Hold on, I'll go back to this. I don't care. She meets Ashford. She meets all the other cats, and basically she's desperate to go back home because she wants to be with Bramblestar. Ashford feels rejected by her, and I think that's what this caused this whole thing. Is because what happens in Squirrel Flight Hope is what causes him to feel rejected by her, feel blinded in love with her, that he goes back to, he says that he'll go down, you know, sent by StarClan, like we discussed earlier, that they sent him down for a reason. And so for his love of her, he's like, I'll go. Came down to the forest, and on his way down, he basically destroyed all the connection, cut off StarClan, and did his own thing because he was this overpowering jealousy for Squirrel Flight. So, yeah, it makes sense if you think about it like that. If you go into like more detailed thinking, like I do. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but yeah, I think that's what caused it, was because of what happens in Squirrel Flight's Hope, with her going to StarClan, rejecting Ashford. He was hurt by this. He wanted her to stay. She refused to stay and went back to her body. And I think that's what started this whole thing. Because he was fine. He was fine until she showed up dead and basically went back and refused to stay. I think that's why it does make sense it's him. And if you make that connection between the two, basically you get that this is what happened. This is why he's doing this. He basically wants Squirrel Flight his. Okay? So, on to 4. So, there are many cats who could fit the description that Shadowsight sees. So this refers to a previous book where he actually sees like the spirit come out of Bramblestar's body. He sees it in like a haze, and it's a gray haze, like a gray cat with stripes and blue eyes. So there's so many other cats the imposter could have been in the end. So, alright, so this is where right here. Asher being the imposter is lazy. And if I'm honest, it's disappointing. They could have gone with Spiresight being the imposter, and he's inside Bramblestar's body as well. I'll explain that in a second. They could have made it impossible for him to be Ashfur and made everyone think it's him when in fact it's not him. Ashfur makes everyone think it's him. Wait, just someone trying to make Ashfur look crazy and overly obsessed. But no, it's just Ashfur who can't take no for an answer and almost abusive levels of, if I can't have you, no one can, to lengths that he almost kills Squirrelflight and takes her to the Dark Forest. Alright? So, so yeah. So we learn in the book, Spiresight, who Shadowsight is named after, is stuck inside Bramblestar's body, and we learn that Bramblestar and why his spirit can't be found is because Ashfur is keeping him captive inside his own body. So both Spiresight and Bramblestar are prisoners inside Bramblestar's body. And Ashfur somehow captured Bramblestar and Spiresight and put them inside the same body and is keeping them captive. Because there's a scene in the book basically where he's trying to convince Shadowsight that if they kill him, they kill Bramblestar's body, they lose Bramblestar forever. And if they also will lose Spiresight forever, because Spiresight is inside Bramblestar's body as well. So it explains why Bramblestar has been missing, why his spirit's not in the forest. It explains basically why they can't find him and why he hasn't been seen is because he's being held prisoner in his own body. How Ashfur is doing this, I don't know. They don't go into a lot of details how he does this. So Ashfur kind of makes sense because if you think about what happened in Squirrelflight's Hope, what I explained, basically that, you know, there's a lot of things that can explain why it is Ashfur doing this. So hold on. Okay, so now, yeah, so there are things that make it make sense that it's Ashfur, and there are other things that make no sense that it's Ashfur, and it's basically really lazy and disappointing. So, in conclusion, what do I think could happen? Now, there are a lot of things that could happen in this book series for the last two books, because there's two books left. There's Place of No Stars, and then there's a sixth book that has not been announced yet, because there's always 6 books in the series. So, what do I think could happen in book 5? Alright? So, alright. So I said basically here, Squirrelflight and Bramblestar are gone forever. The book hints that Squirrelflight can't think of him, Bramblestar, being gone for good. She can't imagine her life without him, and he simply has been without a body too long, and it seems to say that Ashfur is keeping him prisoner inside his own body with his powers. So, I think Squirrelflight and Bramblestar will be dead forever. I don't see how it's possible for Bramblestar to come back to his body. I hope this doesn't happen, but I don't know. Alright? Bristlefrost and Rootspring might die at the end or end up dead in the end. I don't see how it's possible that they can be together as mates. Either one will die and the other will have to live with that, or both will die so they can be together in StarClan. Because Bristlefrost and Rootspring's relationship simply doesn't make sense. Either they're going to be together or they're both going to separate ways to where they finally say, we can't do this, it's not going to work out. Or one will die and the other will have to live with that. Both will die and they can be together in the end in StarClan. Okay? Shadowsight may die because in order to have the clan accept him again. I don't see how anyone in the other clans will ever trust him again with anything. He has to live with the fact that he made of having Ashfur take Bramblestar's body, and the book has made it clear that no one will trust him ever again. I have a feeling Shadowsight will go to the place of no stars somehow. Kind of like what he did where he ate the death berries. He traveled to the place of no stars. The place of no stars is like StarClan, except it's like the dark forest. It's a place where there's basically nothing but darkness. And so I don't know if it is the dark forest, the place of no stars, or it's a different plane of existence. I'm feeling Shadowsight will find a way to go after Ashfur. Okay? Which just comes to this. I'm feeling Shadowsight might travel to the Dark Forest, place of no stars, hoping to bring along Rootspring and Bristlefrost. How? I don't know. And then the three cats will be the ones, maybe with StarClan's help, to defeat Ashfur in the end. So, I don't see how this could end any other way. I have a feeling this is what's going to happen. Somehow they're going to have to travel to the place of no stars. And Shadowsight seems to be the only one who can do that. I think somehow, possibly, Rootspring and Bristlefrost might come along somehow. Like, he'll take them with him using his powers, like whatever powers he has. Maybe he'll have the help with StarClan. He might have the help of Ghost Cats to turn on Ashfur. Like, instead of the Ghost Cats who are being tortured by Ashfur, somehow he makes them on his side, and basically the Ghost Cats rise up and basically turn on the one who's controlling them. So either StarClan is going to be helping in some way, or the Ghost Cats will be helping in some way to end Ashfur forever. So 5. So I assume 5, the next series, Book of No Stars, will be the last, will be number 6. We'll wrap up everything. I think a final battle will take place in Book 5. Book 6 will be a way to end it. I don't think they can stretch it to Book 6. I think it would be kind of silly if they did this. Basically, it's a way of saying, that I don't see how it would be possible. God dang it. Sorry. I don't see how it's possible for them to stretch it to Book 6. I think 6 will be the end of everything. It'll basically be like a wrap up of the ending. It'll probably be like the end of what we find out that will that could happen. So those are my thoughts. Uh, it's basically how I think it's going to happen. Uh, because there's one where I called it basically one of the series. I said, "Oh, this is going to happen in the next series," and I basically drew it out what was going to happen, and it ended up being exactly like what I drew, which is weird. So, yeah. Hold on a second. Okay, so I think that will wrap this up. Uh, if you guys want to tell me what you think, uh, like this video. Do you want more of this kind of thing where I discuss book series, things like that? Like, is this something that you'd be interested in? Uh, is this something you'd want more of for Warrior Cats? So, to end it all, like the summary, uh, yeah, I don't know. I guess whatever happens will happen, and I guess we'll see when Book Place of No Stars comes out, and I think it's gonna be out in April. When I get my hands on it, uh, I don't know. I've been checking out these books from the library, so it might take a while. Whether or not I discuss that book, uh, I don't know. We'll see how I feel about it. I just wanted to talk about this one because I felt like things needed to be said how I thought about it. So, yeah, I've never done anything like this before. I've never discussed my love of it, and it's not something that is well known. So, uh, hopefully in the future, I guess we'll see what happens. Alright, so I will leave you guys with that. And just so you know, spoilers. Right here, spoilers. Alright, sorry about messing up a lot and coughing and other stuff like that. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you guys. Alright.